Have you ever stepped into a place of luxury crystal chandeliers, the scent of expensive Italian perfume, soft piano music drifting like the breath of the elite, only to realize you don't exist in their eyes? Not in the philosophical sense of we're just specks of dust in the universe, but literally, you're standing there, fully alive, and yet treated like a ghost. Ignored, looked down upon, made invisible. That morning, Nathaniel Brooks, 46 years old, a black man in a long gray coat, pulling a simple suitcase, walked into the lobby of the Regency Aurelian Boston, where a single night's stay costs over $1,500. He didn't come in with the aura of a CEO. No entourage, no display of power, because he was the founder of the entire hotel chain, a multi-hundred-million-dollar empire, and few knew its owner was a black man. And today, he came to inspect this branch after a string of complaints from black guests about discrimination and condescending attitudes. But he didn't announce his visit in advance, because some truths only reveal themselves when no one thinks they're being watched. Nathaniel stepped up to the front desk. Everything gleamed, from the obsidian black stone counter to the abstract art hanging behind it. He stood there, waiting to be greeted, and was ignored. 3 full minutes, not a glance, not a question, not even a hello. The young woman behind the desk, named Vanessa, was fixated on her phone screen as if the air in front of her didn't exist. Nathaniel gently tapped the counter. Vanessa glanced up, a quick, arrogant look, as if she'd just been bothered by a guest unworthy of her attention. And at that single glance, Nathaniel knew. This trip wouldn't just be an inspection. It was going to be a lesson. Vanessa finally lifted her gaze from her phone, but not with a smile, not with a welcome, sir. Instead, it was a faint frown and a flat voice tinged with annoyance. What do you need? No greetings, no warmth in her eyes. Nathaniel remained calm and composed. I have a reservation. Nathaniel Brooks Vanessa typed a few characters into the computer. Her long fingers with red painted nails tapped the keys as if it were hard labor. The screen lit up. She glanced briefly, then shook her head. There's no one by that name in the system. Nathaniel pulled out his phone and showed her the confirmation email. Booked 3 days ago, executive suite. Vanessa glanced at the screen he held up, then immediately turned back to the computer. Well, maybe you booked the wrong date or the wrong hotel. You know, some people aren't used to using premium platforms. That last line came with a half smirk, full of implication. Nathaniel knew exactly what she was doing. This wasn't a system error. This was a deliberate exclusion. Could you check again, please? Vanessa rolled her eyes. If you insist, but the system doesn't make mistakes. You've booked the wrong place. Nathaniel stayed silent for a moment. Then she gently said, eyes locked on hers, what if I told you? I know this place better than anyone. Vanessa let out a short laugh. Do you work here or something? Nathaniel didn't answer. He just looked at her. That look made Vanessa slightly uneasy, but she shrugged it off. Well, either way, we're fully booked today. That line spoke like a verdict. A black guest just got denied service, in the very place he built. But what Vanessa didn't know was that she had just stepped on the fuse of the empire she stood in. Nathaniel didn't need to raise his voice, didn't need to argue. He only needed to do one thing: pull out his second phone. The phone is reserved exclusively for accessing the corporation's internal system. He logged in. A few quick taps. The screen displayed the reservation list, and just as he suspected, Brooks, Nathaniel, executive suite, booked 3 days ago, canceled manually, canceled by Vanessa T. He took a breath, his eyes still fixed on the screen, like inspecting a crack in crystal glass, small, but enough to shatter everything if left unrepaired. Vanessa was still turned away, seemingly texting or scrolling on her phone. Nathaniel stepped forward, placing the phone on the counter. "Ms. Vanessa," he said, voice low but resonant. "I just checked. The system is not at fault. My reservation was canceled manually. By you." Vanessa froze. Her eyes locked on her phone screen. Then she slowly turned to face him. I don't know anything about that." Nathaniel tilted his head. "Did you know only authorized staff can manually cancel a reservation?" She stammered. Maybe the system glitched." He turned the phone around. The screen glowed with the text. "Cancelled by Vanessa T. 10:04 a.m." Exactly the moment she had glanced at him with that smug smile. In that moment, Vanessa's expression changed, no longer smug, now fear. "Do you know who I am?" Nathaniel asked, and for the first time in their 15-minute interaction, she fell completely silent. And Nathaniel just smiled softly, because he knew her little game had just ended. The atmosphere in the lobby now felt like someone had struck a match smoldering, waiting to ignite. Vanessa, in a desperate attempt to salvage the situation, quickly printed a keycard and slid it across the counter to Nathaniel. "Here, room 204. You can check in right away." Nathaniel didn't touch it. 204? "Yes, near the elevator. Convenient for getting around." He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Near the elevator, next to the utility room, with a view of the cramped parking lot. That's not the executive suite I booked, is it?" Vanessa was at a loss for words. She hadn't expected that he'd know the hotel layout so precisely. Nathaniel picked up the keycard, turning it slowly between his fingers. His eyes had turned cold as steel. "Who do you think I am, Vanessa?" She didn't answer, just bit her lip, blinking rapidly. "Let me help you," he said, and from inside his coat, he pulled out a staff ID black with gold trim, printed with the Regency Aurelian logo and the words, "Founder and Chief Executive Officer, Nathaniel Brooks." Vanessa's face went pale. Not a drop of blood left. No one in the lobby remained indifferent. A server quietly set down a tray of glasses. A foreign guest lowered his newspaper. Everyone turned toward the front desk. Everyone heard. Nathaniel placed the ID card on the counter gently, but firmly. "You didn't just refuse service to a guest. You refused service to the very man who founded this place." Vanessa stepped back. She had no excuse left. Nathaniel gave a slight nod, picked up his suitcase. The room key remained untouched on the counter. He looked straight into her eyes. "I'll take the room, but not to rest. I'm starting the audit right here at this front desk." Nathaniel stepped into the elevator, but instead of heading to his room, he pressed the button for the 5th floor, the executive offices. The hallway was quiet. The bluish-white lights cast a cold glow, like the spirit of those running this place. He pushed open the door and walked in. The manager was seated, Paul Danner, around 40, crisp white shirt, but a vacant look in his eyes. "Oh, Mr. Brooks. I didn't know you were coming." Nathaniel didn't sit, didn't shake hands. He looked straight at him. "Paul, I was just refused service at the front desk. Not because I did anything wrong, but because I don't fit the image of the type of guest they prioritize." Paul swallowed hard. "It must be a misunderstanding." "No," Nathaniel cut him off, his voice still calm, but sharp as a blade. "Vanessa deleted my reservation. I have proof. And this isn't the first time there have been complaints about her." He tossed a stack of printouts onto the desk documents retrieved from the internal system. 14 internal reports, 6 customer complaint emails, 3 incident reports from other staff, all naming Vanessa directly for discriminatory behavior, rudeness, or deliberately turning away guests who didn't fit the mold. Paul went pale. I thought maybe she just needed more training. She needs to be fired, Nathaniel said coldly. Immediately, and you're going to do it. In front of the guests, right at the front desk, so everyone sees that even the invisible can be revealed. Paul stepped out of the elevator with a stiff gait. In his hand was the termination letter, trembling as if he were carrying a death sentence. Vanessa was still at the front desk, pretending to type, but her eyes betrayed her panic. The lobby was packed. Guests were whispering among themselves. Paul stood at the counter and cleared his throat. Vanessa Thompson, by order of the Executive Board and the founding CEO, you are hereby suspended immediately for discriminatory conduct and serious violations of professional conduct. Vanessa's eyes widened. What? I didn't do anything wrong. Nathaniel stepped forward. Without saying a word, he raised his phone and played a screen recording. Footage from the security camera. A series of emails she had sent contained offensive language toward guests. Vanessa turned pale. The nearby guests fell silent. A black woman standing close nodded slightly, as if witnessing something she herself had once endured. You didn't just hurt me, Nathaniel said, his voice warm yet full of authority. You hurt dozens of others. And today, that silence ends here. Paul handed the termination letter to Vanessa. She failed, trying to resist. Who do you think you are to? I'm the one who gave you this opportunity, and now I'm the one taking it back. Vanessa slammed her keycard onto the counter and stormed off. But before reaching the door, she turned back and spat. All this, just because of the termination, fell into an unusual stillness, as if the entire space was trying to process what had just happened. Vanessa was gone, but the atmosphere she left behind still hung heavy in the air. And now, every gaze turned toward Nathaniel. Paul, the manager, stepped forward, trying to salvage some sense of control. I did as you asked. Vanessa has been dealt with. I think that should be enough. Nathaniel looked at him with an unreadable expression. Dealt with? Interesting choice of words. You think firing one person erases everything she left behind? Paul fell silent. Nathaniel turned and stepped forward, back to the front desk. The 4 remaining staff stood still, eyes avoiding his. Nathaniel placed his hand on the counter. I have one question. How many of you have ever witnessed Vanessa discriminating against guests? No one answered. Not a single movement. Then, one hand rose, slowly but firmly. It was Leo, a young front desk clerk, slender build, but eyes full of quiet resolve. I saw her cancel a reservation for a black guest without any reason, Leo said, and many other times too. But I was too afraid to report it. Nathaniel nodded. You weren't the only one who's ever been afraid. But today, you're not afraid anymore. And that small act just made a big difference. He turned to Paul. He's been here 6 months. You've managed this place for 6 years. And in those 6 years, what did you do to protect your guests? Paul lowered his head. He had no answer. Nathaniel pulled out his phone and turned to face the guests in the lobby. I want everyone here to hear this. Silence in the face of injustice is complicity, and in my hotel, no one is allowed to be complicit. Applause broke out from an older woman, at first, then spread through the entire lobby. Leo quietly shed a tear, not out of fear, but because, for the first time, he felt like he had done the right thing. 3 days later, the entire Boston branch of the Regency Aurelian was shut down for the highest-level special audit in the hotel chain's history. All staff were required to undergo retraining. Every single customer complaint was reviewed line by line. An official statement from CEO Nathaniel Brooks was sent across the chain's 200-plus global branches, bearing one clear message. Anyone who makes a guest feel invisible does not deserve a place in this empire. The incident in Boston didn't just circulate internally. It exploded across social media. A video of Nathaniel standing in the lobby, holding his CEO badge, eyes cold as steel, was shared millions of times in just 48 hours. Comments flooded in. Now that is a real CEO. A masterclass in leadership without raising your voice. The most satisfying plot twist ever. But the story didn't end there. Vanessa, after being terminated, tried to defend herself in an online interview. But faced with the evidence, the files, and the surveillance footage, her justifications only deepened the void of her credibility. As for Paul, the manager who once bowed his head in silence, he was removed from his position as branch manager. In his place, Leo, the young staffer who had the courage to speak up, was appointed interim executive assistant during the restructuring process. In an article published by Forbes, Dr. Eleanor Hughes, an expert in human resources and corporate culture, wrote, "Discrimination in the workplace rarely arrives with weapons or slurs. It comes through silence, through being overlooked. And what sets leaders apart isn't their power. It's how they use that power to reset the standard." And when Nathaniel Brooks was asked how he felt about the incident, he responded with just one sentence. "I didn't go there to check in. I went there to clean out the room where arrogance thought it could live unseen."